Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the premium Bandai exclusive, or P-Bandai exclusive, SHF Kamen Amazon Neo Alpha. So, this one is actually from a movie series, and once again, I would like to mention this movie is not meant for kids. This was actually made for adults, so just because you think it's Kamen Rider, it's not automatically meant for kids. So this one actually has a lot of gruesome, like, action, a lot of blood and stuff, so please make sure that, you know, you don't really show that to your young kids unless you don't mind that. Alright, so first of all, once again, I've been eyeballing this figure for a while, but once again, at the early release stages, obviously everybody wanted it, and then obviously the resale value was a little bit too high, but after a few years has passed, at this point the prices has gone down to the point where I don't really mind buying it as well. So I decided to get one myself, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. And whoops, I forgot to turn on the lights. Alright, there we go. So I finally got one, and I'm really satisfied with the whole overall quality and figure itself. Although there is one slightly confusing aspect, is if you look at the box, it's mentioned the alpha as ALFA. So I think they decided to write the English term in as if how they're pronouncing it in English, but in Japanese style. So obviously, this is not the first time we've seen this case. There is another case where called Kamen Rider Gold Drive. And then in that one, instead of using GOLD, they went with GORD. So my guess is that sometimes they decide to write the stuff in English in the way how they pronounce the English stuff in Japanese pronunciation. That's just my guess. But if not, maybe this is just a big mistake, because there is some space here. If it's just like, they could have just gone with ALPHA. It's just a one extra word, and it would still be enough space here. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but oh well. Just wanted to point that out as well, because if you look at the wiki, actually it's always mentioned as ALPHA as well. So yeah, and there's also another character called Kamen Rider Amazon Alpha, and his alpha is, you know, spelled correctly. All right, so let's see what we got. So let me get the figure out of the way. So in the series, there's a lot of gruesome stuff and a lot of messed up stuff going on in the series or in the movie, so I'm not gonna go in too much detail. This is, if I had to mention, this guy would be one of the most messed up guys in the series. I'm not gonna mention why, but yeah. But in terms of design of all the Amazon designs, the new Kamen Rider Amazon designs, I think this would be in one of my top 2 designs as well, because while the other ones may look very organic or semi, because there's also something called the Neo Amazon as well, and then they have slightly mechanical details on them. But in terms of like the overall design style, this is like the one I prefer. Very mechanical and militaristic style, with all the green and all the small armor parts, even on the head going on here. You have all these rails. So yeah, I do like this design and overall as well. And there's another reason why is that he has a very interesting weapon that he can summon as well. I'll get into the details later, but for now, what you're supposed to get, of course, is obviously the rider itself, and then here are the rest of the stuff that you should be getting. So right out of the box, you should have the 2 fist hands. Obviously, that's the way how this figure works, and then we get some open hands. Now they're kind of difficult to tell the difference, in honesty. You do get these open hands. It's 2 different styles of open hands. Just the way the fingers are aligned is slightly different, but yeah, that's that. So you get 2 sets of extra hands, open style, and finally we get the main finale, his main weapon. So the way how he summons his weapon is that on the belt. So the way how he transforms is not using the belt. He has this band thing on his arm. So this thing, the silver part, I believe, would be pointing upwards, and he would flick it down, and then he transforms and into this, which already has the belt. Kind of a very interesting case of transformation, but that's the way how this guy works. And then this is supposed to be like a concept of a syringe. So he would push this down, and then would on his right arm, this would be summoned on. So in terms of the figure, you have to actually detach the arm and then slap this on here as well. So if you look at the weapon, this is a very cool weapon, and he does use it very well, although a lot of blood was splattered. For close combat, he has a chainsaw. Yes, actual working physical chainsaw as close combat. And then on the top, you have a mini Gatling gun. Yes, so he has both close combat and long range combat covered up with this single weapon. And of all the things I've seen so far in Kamen Rider series, this is a very, very efficient weapon, if you ask me. Alright, so let's go on with articulation as well, and then we'll see how, I will show you how to slap that on. Alright, so let's start with the head. Now, first of all, I would say be careful when you're holding this figure, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to be careful of. So number one is the head. Be careful with the antenna. Even on the instruction manual, it does mention this is a very fragile part, this antenna thing. And I think mine has like a slight paint error as well, but no big deal. I can always recolor that as well. So looking at the head, definitely like the overall green style with the clear blue eyes. And then the antenna, well, then again, the Amazons have these antenna things on their head, so oh well. So overall, the head works very well. Of course, mine came out of the box detached for some reason, but hopefully I reconnected it properly. So it can go down that much, up not so much, but then again, it's because mostly for the armor. Going side to side is possible, but once again, you can see the neck joint is moving together. So make sure when you're like displaying this thing, make sure the neck is on the like proper, section. Because that has been an issue with most figures recently, but oh well. Now the reason why I say it's kind of tricky to handle this guy is not only for the antenna, but if you look at the back here, there are a ton of spikes on the back, middle of the back, so on the spine area, back of the arms, like once again spikes in the back of the legs, spine. So these are all, I wouldn't say they're too fragile. They are plastic, but some of them are slightly flexible. But once again, I would say if you're not careful, you could accidentally snap off one of these things. So do be careful as well. Now, despite the spikes, they don't really hinder the articulation itself. So obviously, in terms of the body, we do have a nice ab crunch going side to side as possible. Side to side movement is possible, but not 360 because overall the structure of the figure as well. And then the arms can go 360 as well, no problem, because the shoulder armor is connected to the arm itself, not to the main body. And once again, one issue I've been having is that if I move too much, the shoulder armor does pop out. But luckily, these armor parts do pop in. You can, plug them in back in pretty easily, so no big deal. So just be careful how you're moving it like that. So going to the side 90 degrees is possible. 360 twist itself is also possible. And then bend wise, you do only get about a 90 degree bend here. So, and also the lower arm can rotate. Now this is because of the other arm having the detached gimmick as well. So technically, because of the structure, I would assume you can detach this on the other arm as well. However, there is no reason to detach this arm because there's nothing to plug it in. Because in terms of this weapon hand, you also require the trigger finger hand or holding hand for the weapon, but you do not get anything for that for the left hand. So there's no reason to pop this section out as well. And hands are your typical SHF figure arts hands, where the ball joint is on the arm and then the hand has the hole as well. All right, so just to make a quick gimmick, so you just need to. Come on, there we go. You can pop this arm out and then slap this thing in. So I'll be showing you guys later, but I just want to show you guys how the structure of this part is. Now, do be careful when you're pulling it out. You do not want to snap the joint of the actual arm there as well. So yeah. Alright, so now we have the belt here. Now the belt is just, molded pretty clearly. It doesn't actually have any movement, and you can't really pull out the syringe here like the actual DX toy there. But I would say they did a pretty good job on the details as well. So yeah, I have no complaints on the belt as well. And then on the back, once again, excellent details going on here. Even the militaristic, style of the armor here, even on the chest plate, mechanical and militaristic. So definitely a very good combo, if you ask me. And then once again, the legs, you have the nice side swivel going on here, and you have the gimmick where you can kind of pull it down to, to match the balance, or if you want to make it look longer as well, or taller if you want to do so. Alright, and then so with this, moving the legs to the side 90 degrees, not exactly fully possible. I would say this is more a limitation of the design. And then going forward 90 degrees is possible. Backwards also possible, but mostly in an angle because of, you know what here. So that's that. And then once again, bend wise, it is possible, but once again, the spike is now touching the side. So don't force it like that. So just be careful where it moves and how it's touching stuff as well. And then feet wise, you have the typical SHF style feet where you can go rotate 360 for some reason, and then you do get a nice pivot joint and then a toe bend. Alright, since we've seen the basic articulation of the figure, so I'll be right back with the arm slapped on, because I do need to apply a little bit of force, and doing that in front of camera is a little bit tricky, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the Gatling gun arm attached. So once again, it's a pretty it's easy to plug out and plug in, although you do need to apply pressure to the right direction. So plugging it in this arm is actually much more easier than compared to its original arm. So yeah. So, nothing too special here, although there is some parts I would like to mention. So, at first it may look like a single piece here, but no, the handle that's holding the chainsaw is actually a separate piece here. So, you do have a little bit extra mobility or movement for the arm here, because in the series, if you actually watch the series as well, you can definitely sometimes see that the chainsaw and the gun is not really aligned, so they're actually sometimes in an angle like this. And also sometimes you can see like the chainsaw bending a little bit, so I think they try to replicate that as well. So of course, to make sure that you're in the right position if you want to make it look straight, there is actually a small nub and a small hole there, so to make sure that you are aligned if you want to go with that design as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the chainsaw and Gatling gun. Once again, he does see a little bit of action, but compared to the rest of the Amazons that we see in the series, he's more of a static character. So he doesn't move around, jump a lot, compared to the other ones that has these wild, like animal-like movements. He has a little bit different background, so the way how he fights is very different as well. Alright, and that is pretty much it for the review. So once again, if you're a fan of the design, then I would say this is a pretty good purchase. Of course, if you're a fan of the character, then I have some questions, but oh well. Anyway, this was the review of the SHF Kamen Rider Amazon Neo Alpha. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.